Hey guys, talking about knives today. I've been foam coring for a couple of years now. When I first started, I used a utility knife, kind of like the one you see here, but it was an unfoldable one. And then I used just a couple blades I happen to have in my toolkit, and that was a terrible idea. I do have a video on the materials that I use and the different things, glues and rulers and needles, or pins rather. But just wanted to say the importance of a good knife. I've got a slide out knife here, just standard from the Office Depot store. I rarely use this knife. However, I do use it when I need a really long blade, like that. And then what I'll do is line it up on the foam core if I have a piece that's vertical, and then I'll put the blade down flat like that. And that way I can cut something that's really low or even mark it way down low. I can stick it out just a little bit more here, and then I can get all the way down the foam core and mark something that might be really low, because sometimes there'll be foam core here, like this, and I want to mark the bottom, so I can actually come in here and mark the very bottom and make a line vertically, whereas a different blade, like this, I cannot get down that far. So it's handy to have a long blade like that if you need to make slices or cuts way down to the bottom. I've also got an X-Acto knife here, a little off-brand X-Acto knife. Very sharp, be very, very careful, but it is helpful to have. I don't actually use it very often. Some people swear by these, but I find myself kind of annoyed by its cut. I have a very sharp blade, it's brand new, but when I'm down there making cuts with my X-Acto blade, I don't find that it makes the cut I want. And some of that's pressure I'm putting on it, some of it's my angle, so maybe it's just out of practice, but it is good to have because I can get in there really tight with the thin blade and make really, really tight cuts if I need to. So it's nice to have. And then last but not least, a while back, I upgraded my utility knife to just a Stanley. It's a 5 blade, so it actually holds. Let's see if I can get them out here. Oh, I guess I can't. But it actually holds additional blades here in the bottom, and I like that. Oh, it has to be open. There we go. So it holds blades in the bottom, and that way, when a blade goes dull, I can actually pull it out here really easily. I'll go ahead and show you. And then I can pull it back and push it forward and have a new blade. So it's pretty cool to be able to do that and not have to deal with unscrewing and putting new blades in there, things like that. Also, you gotta have a utility blade that is thick enough and girthy enough for your hand. I used an old utility knife, the one that unfolded, and it was really uncomfortable. It was a little smaller than my hand. I would actually prefer a little bit even bigger one than this, but you gotta have a big, nice utility knife. I've got rubber grip on the bottom and top because what you want to do when you cut is you're actually making between 1 and 3 cuts depending, and you're pulling it and with a lot of downward pressure, and a lot of times you're doing that 3 times. And so it's important to have a good utility knife that you like, thick enough and it's got a good blade. And lastly, the blade, how important that is. I have heard a lot of people will use a 1 blade side for a box. They'll make a whole box out of 1 blade, and then they'll switch it, and they'll use it the other side, and then they'll switch it. I find that I can usually get 2, 3, maybe 4 boxes out of a blade side. Probably more like 3 max. It's weird because the blades are still very, very sharp. They do last forever, and I actually end up downgrading them to my toolkit. But for the foam core and the precision you need, you got to have an extremely sharp blade in there. So I will put a new blade in about 2 or 3 boxes, and then get a new one. Blades are relatively cheap, so it's not a big deal, not a big investment. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you've got your preferred utility knife or what knives you use. Would love to see what you got.